Welcome to the Lovefly podcast. It's Paul Tizard here, fearofflying coach for the last 25 years. Oh my goodness. And today's guest has come from the Lovefly Facebook group, and it's Gena, who's going to tell us all about her fear of flying story. So welcome, Gena.
Hi, thank you.
So thanks ever so much for your time and to join us today. So why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and how we've ended up talking, what your journey to date has been, or anything you like, really.
Okay, so I'm 52 and I'm a mother of 4 boys. And 3 years ago, my son decided he was going to get married to an American lass, and the plan was to move out to the States and live happily ever after and us go and visit.
Right.
I haven't flown in 22 years and the last flight we did was from Menorca, and I remember sitting on the airplane saying to my children, if we die, just know that I loved you. And we had planned, so my son's wedding was supposed to be 2 years ago and COVID struck, obviously. So it got postponed a year. Last year, the year before when we had planned it, it was, will the borders open? Won't they open? Will they open? Won't they open? And of course, when it came to this year, this last year, they didn't open, ready for us to go.
Right.
So when we decided I decided actually on New Year's Day that if I didn't at 52 years old start taking control of my life, I was going to miss out on so much. I booked the flights for June, and then a month later my blood pressure was through the roof and my doctors tried lots of different things, and it was all because of the fear of what was to come.
Yeah.
So
it's like so you made a big decision on New Year's Day then, didn't you? Crikey, that was quite a big moment.
It wasn't just about flying. It was about kind of, I live in a place of fear. I've always been fearful. My go-to excuse is what if, and I realized that what if can go both ways. So what if something doesn't happen and I have the most amazing time? So it actually can flip 2 ways. So
I love that.
Yeah, so I kind of took the ball by the horn and decided that would be it. This year would be a year to go, and we did.
Right, that's brilliant. Didn't. So let's pause there. That's a good point. We'll come back to that because we don't want to do a spoiler alert. Okay, so let's whiz back 22 years and before. What was going on there that stopped you flying?
I think, one, we had 4 children and, money was incredibly tight. And then we had our holiday in Menorca. My son had renal trouble and had quite a serious operation. And we promised him when he was in hospital, we would take him on an airplane. He was 11.
Yeah.
And we said once he recovered that we would take him. And he did, thankfully, recover fully. And we had to keep our end of the bargain. And for me, having only flown a couple of times as a child, the fear was just, I think because you have this overwhelming protection thing as a parent, and the controlling nature that I had to let the control go to the pilot. And that's something that I found really difficult. I would try and hit the brake and I would try and steer the plane, and for me...
How did that work out for you?
Not very well. I think I must have hit the accelerator button instead of the brake, because it seemed to go a lot faster as I was trying to hit the brake.
Despite you putting your foot on the brake, they just ignored you.
Yeah, and carried on going. And I think for me, part of that journey back 22 years ago was having seen my son quite ill, we had to control a lot of things, and
Yes.
you then start panicking, and we'd had this big event, and then you become letting go. It's really, really difficult. So letting
Yeah.
go of
Mm.
control, of fear, of, like I said, the what ifs is
Yes.
is quite a challenge. It is quite a challenge.
Mm. So the fear of flying, I'm still a bit unclear why you think you had a fear of flying. I can get that
I
there's
don't
a
know.
hell of a lot going on. Was it just like
I
the
don't
fact I
know.
hadn't done it?
No, I think we had watched my son ill and watched him come quite close to not being here anymore. And it just made me think how precious life was. And I was just going to get on an airplane in the middle of
Right.
the sky with no no escape and no control. And I just had in my head that I could die.
Yeah. Like, well, it kind of makes sense, doesn't it, when you say it like that? So literally, so although you'd said that, I hadn't really picked up the fact that one led to the other. I thought the fear was before that because you hadn't really flown that much.
No, I think that sort of cemented it really
Mm,
for me, was
yeah,
just this overwhelming fear of dying and being out of control, not being able to stop anything that was going to happen.
yeah. Well, not surprised. And also, when your kids go through stuff like that, it has quite an effect upon parents,
Yeah.
doesn't it? Yeah. So I understand that. Okay, so you managed to stay away from flying for 22 years.
Yeah.
Well done. How did you manage that?
That was quite difficult because my husband is a plane enthusiast and wants to fly everywhere. But I was quite crafty in the fact that, I'd say, we can't afford it. It's like, we've never seen the UK. Let's just go around the UK.
Yes, you became quite inventive then, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah, very. And now all our children have grown up. Like I said, one lives in the States. Those excuses have worn thin. And
Hiding money under the mattress as well.
and to
We
be
can't
honest,
afford it.
Paul, to be honest, Paul, I just I don't know whether it's a midlife crisis. I just do not want life to
Yeah.
pass me by and then look back and go, I let my fear control my
Mm,
entire life and I missed out on so much. Do you know what I mean? I just don't want to walk
mm,
away from my life thinking, I wish I'd done so much more
yeah. Yeah. Well,
because it's so
so
precious.
let's
It's
just
so
have a
quick.
little reframe there. So it wasn't a midlife crisis. Let's call it a midlife catharsis because something shifted. Because you
Yeah,
changed the what ifs to be what if I have a great time to what if I don't.
yeah. And I
So
think
I'm allowed to change things as well.
yeah, do you know what? I heard somebody say something the other day, and it really sort of resonated with me because as the time to coming up to flying to the States was getting nearer, I think
Mm,
the pressure of the previous flight going to the States that didn't happen for the wedding, there
yeah.
was a lot of stress involved because we were meeting my son's partner's family that we hadn't really had any
Mm,
time with before. We were staying in their house. There was lots of prep going on for the wedding, then COVID injections,
yes.
pre-COVID flights, tests, and all of this other stuff. And if the borders would open. So the stress was quite high. So when we
Mm,
decided to go this time, the stress was like already programmed, if you like, in my
yes.
head.
Yeah.
And the closer it was getting, the darker and darker I felt. It was getting more
Mm,
and more
yeah.
the fear, everything. It wasn't just the flying, it was becoming everything was becoming a paranoia.
Yes.
And then I heard somebody say, at your darkest times, you may feel buried, but really you're just being planted, ready to grow. And I thought,
Oh, that's deep.
it just
Hey,
really struck a
who said
chord.
that? Who was that?
I heard it on the radio,
Oh, that's really cool.
and I just thought, crikey, that is really true. And I thought, that's a real good one. And that sort of helped. And then I came across Lovefly.
Mm. And
So
yes, and so that when was that then?
So that was about 6 weeks before we flew.
Right. Okay. Wow. So how did you find us? I'm always curious how people come across the Love Fly stuff because I
I
stopped doing the Google ads about a year, well, 18 months ago, because it's cost me a fortune.
Yeah, of course. I think it was because I had been constantly putting into the phone how to overcome fear of flying. What happens if I have a heart attack on the plane?
Yeah.
All of these things. And then randomly, phones listen and capture things, and it popped up on Facebook. A link came in on Facebook randomly, podcast just showed up on Facebook.
All
And that was
right.
how I found you. I don't even, I can't tell you that I purposely Googled you, because I didn't even know it existed, but it was the best thing I think I could have found.
Oh, that's nice to know. Oh, that's interesting. So it just randomly come up. Thanks, Google. So yeah. So you found the podcast. You had 6 weeks until your flight. So
Yeah.
what state were you in then? If that state's the right word.
I was, I, my blood pressure tablets had been doubled. I had got to the stage where my son would ring up planning lots of things. I couldn't even speak to him on the phone about it. I was waking up in the middle of the night thinking, oh my God, I've only got 6 weeks left, 5 weeks left, 4 weeks left.
Yes.
And my son and my hubby were like so excited, and I was just absolutely dreading it.
Mm.
So it wasn't I wished I could have their excitement, but
Yes.
I just couldn't. I couldn't
Yeah.
find it within me. So
Yeah. Well, the fact that you were moving towards it despite all of that is quite phenomenal. It just goes to show, like separate to your story is like the strength of human spirit that, once you've decided and you made a decision, right, I'm going to do something about this, enough is enough. It's amazing what people can withstand, and you're a great example of this. So keep going. This is a good story. Keep going.
so I found Lovefly, and I started dipping in and listening to bits and pieces, reading little bits that popped up on Facebook, joined the group, started reading people's stories, looking at videos. And one thing I realized is every single person that had written a post, one had felt similar feelings to what I had. Every single one of them had got on the plane, and every single one of them had got off the other end.
Yes.
Nobody had crashed, nobody had died, nobody had a horrendous story.
No.
Everybody who flew actually had a safe, and some pictures and that were purely stunning pictures, and you could almost capture and feel the relief and excitement when they touched down the other side, and the pride in themselves for doing it. It was encapsulating, really. Then I listened to some of the podcasts because I had a horrible fear of going back to 22 years ago, of dying on the plane.
Yeah.
So I listened to the medical talks about all of the training of the pilots and the crew and things like that. Listened to all of that, and that really made me feel safe.
And is that all stuff that you didn't know before?
Yeah, nothing. I didn't know any of that. I've kind of gone, flying has been blanketed out of my radar. It's not something, we go to air shows, but I'm quite happy to watch somebody else in the plane rather than be in it myself. And then we got to the airport. So we got up in the morning to fly, and by that time I hadn't slept for 2 days. I was feeling sick. I was up out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning thinking, oh my God, what am I doing? I'm just some crazy fool. What made me think that this was a good idea?
So could I just ask then, Gena, had the fear decreased at all, or would you say you were still as scared as when you first thought?
I was as scared of flying, but not of dying.
Right. Okay.
So I'd kind of put to bed that I was still concerned that I was flying with high blood pressure, and I have a fast heart rate anyway, and I was kind of thinking, oh my God, that's just going to go through the roof, which it did, to be fair.
Yeah.
But I kind of thought if anything was going to happen, people would know what to do. And it's not a case that I could be walking down the street and have something happen and no one be around and no one know what to do. So I kind of felt really protected, if that makes sense, from that side.
Yeah, I've always said
Um,
that an aircraft is a good place to have a heart attack. You know, if you're going to plan one, go and
yeah,
have one because you've got
don't
people
plan
around
one.
who know what they're doing. You know, not that, I don't know you get if you get to plan these things, but it's
Always
definitely a
best
good
not to have
place. Yeah.
one though. Uh,
So you didn't
so
die.
I didn't die. So yeah, so we got to the airport, and I I got our tickets. We didn't take any luggage other than hand luggage, carry on, which
Mm,
made it a lot simpler, which took a lot of
yes.
the stress out.
Yeah.
We got to the departure lounge, and it's classic. So they said anyone with SSSS on their ticket and priority boarding can come through. I went through. My husband didn't have SSSS. I thought it was because I was special. So I was allowed to go through. I thought maybe it was because, I told the lady at the desk I was incredibly nervous,
Yeah.
only to find that it was an extra security check.
Nice.
So by which point I was incredibly nervous anyway.
Mm, mm,
So then, got to security. I got to security, and they told my husband to wait in another area. And they were saying to me, "Is this your bag?" Bearing in mind, at this point, I'm having kittens. Out comes the rubber gloves and this wand. And I'm thinking, what is going on?
yeah. Yeah.
Is this your bag? Yes. Have you left sight of it? No. Did you pack it yourself? Yes. Has anyone touched
Mm,
your bag? No. So he emptied my handbag out. He swabbed my case. Then he said, "Open your case." I opened my case, and he pulled out my husband's boxer shorts. And somehow we'd managed, he said, "Are these yours?" And I was like, no, they're my hip. So then they had to pull my husband through to prove that our cases were identical.
oh my
So that
goodness.
it was very funny looking back. It was quite
Mm,
comical. But at the time, I was thinking, oh God, this just does not help the situation.
test, though, wasn't it? Let's be
It
honest.
kind
It's
of was. And I think at that point, I sort of said to my hubby, "Do you know what? You're just going to have to go without me. I'm going to give you my passport. You're just going to have to go without me. I just can't do it. This is too
mm,
much."
mm,
So he kind of went, "Are you kidding?" I was like, "No." And then I honestly don't know what came over me, whether it was, I think about everyone's stories that I've read, and I think about a lot of positivity quotes and motivational speakers. I've listened to a lot of Tony Robbins over the years, and I don't know what came over me, but I suddenly realized if I didn't get on that plane, I was going to miss the chance of a lifetime of seeing where my son was living,
mm,
meeting his family, seeing how his life was over there, to have that hug. And this for me was the biggest thing, was to have my son hold me after not seeing him for 18 months, have him hold me
mm,
and say hello, and to see his face as you come through the arrivals gate. There just is no other feeling like it.
yeah.
And I didn't want to let him down. So that was the final
Mm,
point where I thought, I'm just going to do this step by step. And I spoke to the lady on the desk, and she said we could go straight to Terminal 5 because we were leaving from Terminal 5 on the little train.
yeah.
So we went on the little train, underground train, to Terminal 5. It was a lot quieter.
Mm,
Everyone was chatting. There was a lot of flight attendants and cabin crew, and everyone mulling around. They were all laughing and joking, which made me think none of these look scared. None of them are worried. There was
yes.
kids flying that were like, teenagers going, this is just like an everyday thing. And I was thinking,
Mm,
why am I so stressed?
yes.
I took 2 steps forward and 3 steps back going down the tunnel to get on the plane. That was that was my, the sort of moment where you think this is my
Yeah.
last chance to run the opposite direction.
Mm,
And I was probably about 5 foot behind my husband, who was skipping along, very excited, because we flew on an Airbus A380, and
oh,
it was
lovely.
his bucket list. So he was super happy, and I was just
Yes.
shaking my head. And
Mm,
but once we sat on the plane, I mean, everyone was fantastic. Everyone was so welcoming and warm and chatty, and put your mind at rest. And I have to say, I did pay for Wi-Fi on the phone, and I did read the Lovefly page when we were on the plane, and that really helped.
There you go, people. You help when you don't even realise. That is, Gena, that is such an inspiring story. And
We're going again in December.
are you? Oh God, we won't go for all that again. So right, so you got on the flight.
Yeah.
What was that like for you then?
So I took my Fitbit watch off when my heart rate got to 165. Sat in the plane, and I was thinking, this is crazy. I'm just driving myself crazy. And then they did their talk, and I watched it starting. So I sat in the window, which I have to say was amazing. I started watching the ground just drift by, and I thought, crikey, we're only going about 50. And then I looked again, and we were already in the air, and I hadn't noticed the takeoff, and I mean, they say that you go at 165, 170 to take off. It felt like 50 miles an hour. It was smooth. It was beautiful. I knew about the sounds that we were going to hear where the wheels come up, and I knew all the different things to listen out for. And every time one went off, I kind of thought, oh yeah, I know what that is. That's fine. That's normal. Going through the clouds was the most beautiful experience and quite spiritual experience I think I have had until the flight home. The flight home was different. And it was just so peaceful, so beautiful. And before you know it, I mean, it was a 7.5 hour flight. So it wasn't a small flight we went on time wise. And before you knew it, people were coming round, people were walking about, everyone was chatting, and the time just flew, literally. And then the landing was beautiful. It was a bit bumpy. We did have turbulence, we did have some turbulence. And I did the trick with the glass, and the air steward laughed at me and said, see, you've learnt that one then. I said, it feels like for me, it was like a really old-fashioned, bumpy old train.
Yeah.
That kind of way you're just getting tossed about on the old train tracks. But the water wasn't moving in the glass, and not really. And you look out the window and you can see that the plane actually isn't doing anything like you think it's doing. And then, like I said, I just kind of, if I shut my eyes, it was like being on an old-fashioned, really old-fashioned, cronky old steam train where you just jump about. So that was kind of how I put it in my head. And then we landed, walked through arrivals, and I saw my son, and I thought, I'm going to do this as often as I can.
Wow.
And there's only so much. Fear will only be there if we allow it to stay. And I think there is a difference in fear and anxiety and phobias. There's a massive difference, and I understand that. And some people's phobia is just so embedded that it takes a lot more, and lots of therapies and lots of retraining your brain and things. And I would never take that away from anyone. That is a real medical thing to actually deal with. It's a real difficult thing to deal with. So I think the flight back for me was the most spiritual thing I have ever done. I've watched the sun set and the sun rise in 2.5 hours, and that was stunning. And we saw the clouds were just blood red, and then the sky was like we were flying on the edges of the earth. Wait, I've put the pictures on. I think I've put the pictures on.
Lovely, beautiful, stunning. Stunning.
And I just thought, my gosh, if I hadn't have done this, I was going to miss all of this, let alone all the stuff that we'd had with our son. I was going to miss everything that we had done on that plane, everything I'd seen, everything I'd witnessed. Watching the sunset is incredible when you're flying at night. And then to watch it rise within a couple of hours and watch the most incredible colours, and it's almost like I can't explain it. It's very spiritual when you see it's like something new, your whole world is starting again, resetting, reprogramming.
Yeah,
It's beautiful,
yeah.
absolutely beautiful.
And you've put it so elegantly. It's like I can visualize it so well just from listening to you. I imagine other people
Oh,
listen
thank
to this.
you.
It's just you really captured it there in the way you've sort of taught that through. And
It's very peaceful. There's something very, very peaceful about that moment of total calm and peace. And it really was like being on the edge of the world because everything was, the sun was down, and then you got the sort of the arch of the sky. You got a slight arc to it, and it just. I don't think I'll ever forget it. I really don't think I will ever forget it.
what a story, honestly.
Yeah, it gets a bit more crazy when we came home and I rang my son 2 days later and said, "What are you doing at Christmas?" He was like, "Why?" And I said, "I've just booked a flight for the 10th of December." And he was like, "Are you crazy?" I was like, "Yep."
Oh,
And I've even said, because my son obviously will hopefully he wants to have children, and you know he wants us to be a significant part of their lives even though we're sort of 3,000 miles away. And he said you get 90 days on an Esther. He said, if I have to fly you over once a month for a week, he said, until we've used up those 90 days, he said, I'll do it. He said, we'll get you over here. And I was thinking, from going from being to the stage where I literally thought I was going to die, I can't put it any other way.
yeah.
It wasn't just fear, it was terror. I was
Mm,
petrified
mm.
to now thinking I'd be quite happy to go and do it on my own.
Wow. Just pause there. That is amazing, isn't it? Crikey.
Yeah. I
So
wish
on
I'd
the
done
way
it
back, were you at all? What was your heart rate like on the way back? And
wasn't as bad. I mean, the only time I got a little bit nervous was when we got to boarding at Boston.
mm,
Because we obviously flew, well, we didn't obviously because we don't know where we've been, but we flew into Boston and flew out of Boston, and saying goodbye to loved ones at an airport is quite emotional,
yeah,
and it's very difficult. I'm very close to my son, and it's very, very difficult thing to do because
yeah,
you kind of think at that point you sort of think, God, I don't know when I'm going to go back. My son has phobia of heights,
mm,
and he's actually got to the airport before now and couldn't get on a plane. So he has a fear of heights and really struggles. So I kind of thought, if I don't do this regularly, he's not going to be coming home to me. So,
no,
and I want to show him that it's safe to do, that it's okay to do.
mm,
And the more I do it, and each journey that I knock up that's a good journey and things like that, the more I'm hoping will give him the courage and everyone else. Do you know what? Everyone that flies, every story that I've read on Lovefly has made me go, like I said at the start, every single person gets on the plane, every single person gets off. It's
yes,
not, what was it that was the one thing that I was struck by in one of the talks where you say that there's, I think it was 115,000 flights a day or something crazy, or 100,000 flights globally a day. There was some figure in there. I can't remember the exact figure.
I don't
Um,
remember either. It's a
and
lot though.
um, and everyone, we all sort of the media glorifies anything that goes wrong. They're so quick to put fear in people and
Mm,
make people feel bad. They never want people to have the good stories. And I think there's so many flights and so many successes that people just that it just gets lost. Nobody's
yeah,
interested in all the positive stuff.
yeah.
So yeah. So like I said, we're going back in December, and I can't wait. We're going on a 777 this time,
Oh,
a Boeing
cool,
777.
lovely.
Never flown on one, and I'm like, I can't wait.
Yeah. Oh, they're lovely aircraft as well. So that's, yeah, just a different feel to the A380. I mean, I've only been on one of those once, and I loved it. And for all the reasons that you said, very quiet and very peaceful. I love your story, Gina. It's just so
Oh,
inspiring.
I just really hope, I'm quite active on Lovefly now. It's really for me, was quite, it was inspiring. It's changed my attitude. It's given me, it gave me hope. That was the
Mm,
main thing
mm,
that, and made me realize that I'm not the only crazy brain, that it goes through this mad turmoil in my head, even at the thought of it. I wasn't alone. There's
mm.
thousands of other people, probably hundreds of thousands of people that have the same
Yeah.
fears and worries and things. And for every post that goes on Lovefly, just makes everyone else stronger and stronger and stronger, and makes people realize, I think, that, you know, together everyone is so much stronger and
Mm,
can conquer anything. And like I said, fear is only the only limit with fear is your self control of it. And I think we have to look at things somehow to retrain our brain to look at things. Like I said, I always say, what if it crashes? What if I get run over? What if this happens? But
yeah.
then,
Yeah.
like I said, what if it doesn't?
Mm,
Look at the exciting, amazing things that we can have and achieve and do, and all the experiences that we can have if we just learn to let it go. Easier said than done, but
well,
and it takes a lot. But
yeah, you did it. You're doing it, and that is. I love the. I get a real strong sense of hope, determination, and doing it despite feeling absolutely terrified. I think that's just. It's just so inspiring. It doesn't feel like the big enough word, but that's just
oh,
amazing.
thank you.
So what
I've
about
been
between
speaking.
now and the next time? Is there what's your? I mean, have seen you've been very active on the Love Fly, which I think
Yeah,
helps as well because you get to every time you're helping somebody else, you're reinforcing it. But I just wonder what your plan is between now and December. Is there anything else that you need to do to just get even more fear free, if that's the right
I
word?
think for me, I think I, like I said, all my adult life, I've come from a place of fear, and I think my main goal between now and December is to get myself physically and mentally in a much better place. So this,
Right.
I have to say, doing this trip and flying, especially the flying, that for me has been the most door opening experience. So having done it once, I now know what to expect, and it's not something to be so scared of. It's
Mm,
not this scary thing that I've created in my head.
yeah.
And I think I want to work on my sort of strength, my physical and mental well-being a bit more, so that I want, I've been speaking to another member of the group quite a lot, personal messaging, who was going through a very difficult flight
Mm,
experience this last week, and I said, do you know what, if I could, and I would have done, I would have got on a plane and flown out and flown back with her and held her hand all the way
yeah.
through. If I could
Yeah.
have done, if I could have afforded it and I had the time off, I would have done that, just to hold her hand through it, to show her
Mm,
that I trust so much in the process of
yes.
flying now,
Yeah.
that I would happily get on that plane and then go and get her and bring her back. I would have done it. I feel that confident in everyone that flies the plane, crews the plane, maintains the plane, does the maintenance on it. I feel so confident that every single person knows what they're doing. And, people get in my car every day and I drive people around, and they have to trust that I know what I'm doing. So it's no different. It's just a bigger vehicle.
Wow.
And a few more people.
Yeah, I've noticed that. Yeah.
There's one or two more people in the vehicle, but
Yeah, and just about a gazillion times safer. No disrespect to your driving.
it is though. That's the weirdest thing. And there's some. it's my dad. When I learned to drive with my dad, like I said, I'm 52, and he used to drum in my head all the time. It doesn't matter how good you are, it's the other idiots on the road. And he used to say, and when we were flying, I was thinking, I've not seen a single plane up here, which is a
Mm,
good thing, obviously. I've not seen another plane. There's no one stood in the road, walking across the road, and, things like that. And actually, that's a really liberating thing that, you can just sit back and there's no one else around. There's nothing
mm,
that's going to sort of jump out at you and cause you have to do emergency stop in the middle of the air. Well, hopefully not. And that's quite nice feeling because
yes,
you just let it go. It's lovely.
I agree. Oh, I love flying. I love the fact that you can escape. Unfortunately, because Wi-Fi is on there now, you're now contactable. But before that,
Only
you
if you
could
buy
just.
it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. You don't have to buy it, do you? But then,
Yeah,
I think, yeah, I love that escapism. That sort of like it is a very secure place, and you can escape from things, have time to think. I love all that. Unless you
yeah. And
unless you got kids with you on the plane, and then you can forget it.
also,
You've
I
got
think
time to do anything.
we all have, unless you're incredibly lucky, we all have very humdrum lives. We all work. We all pay the bills. We all, to a degree, struggle with everyday rubbish that goes on in life. And, you know, how incredible is it that you can step on a plane and one in the morning, you're living your life, you're having breakfast around your table, thinking, "Oh God, another day," kind of thing. It's going to be that kind of day again. And in the afternoon, you could be on a beach somewhere, somewhere tropical, or looking at the ice caps somewhere, or, doing some crazy trip somewhere, or you could be seeing family that you've not seen in years in the afternoon, just in the afternoon.
Yeah,
Isn't that just amazing?
it is. I'm handing over the Lovefly group to you. You're so positive. That's such a lovely way to look at it. I love all that. Honestly, Gene, that's it.
It's
I'm handing it over. You're
unbelievable.
going to be an admin now. Sorry.
Oh,
I'm off.
thanks.
Thanks ever so much.
I just think it's amazing that you can get up in the morning and be in one country
Mm,
and then, even a 2 hour flight, 3 hour flight, and it's a completely different to Spain or whatever. It's a different culture, a different place, different people. You can go where nobody knows you and you can just be who you want to be. I'm very body conscious. So I went to America. I didn't know anyone other than my son. And I was wearing shorts and a t shirt. And my husband was like, I've not seen you in shorts in years. And I'm like, I don't know any of these people.
mm.
What do I care? They're never going to see me again. And I've just got on a plane and flown 3,000 miles. If I want to wear my shorts, hun, I'm going to wear my shorts. Do you know what I mean? It was like, it's
Oh,
been absolutely incredible. I can't really explain. I can't say it any other way. It's been
I
life
think
changing.
I think you're doing a great job of it. Honestly, it's
Thanks.
it's just.
I've got my BA app because I have to just say, we're not rich. We paid for all of our family to go to my son's wedding,
Mm,
and one by one, they dropped out. But we had already bought the tickets because the stress was getting too much for everyone, and for various reasons, and we couldn't get our money back. So we were given vouchers, and that's the only reason we can do all of this flying now. We've probably got two more flights that we can do, and we're just like, we're not rich, we're not sort of flying off, we're not sort of jetting off here, there, and everywhere because we've got the money to do it. We're just using up the vouchers. But even then, I've said to my hubby, I don't want this to stop. We have to push ourselves out of our comfort zone as much as possible. Keep doing it, keep doing things that just test us a little bit more. Otherwise,
mm,
we're just going to miss out on life. And we're both in our 50s, and as a kid, you think you're infallible and you've got all this time ahead of you. And then you come into your 50s and you kind of think, oh, probably 20 years before, I start creaking and cracking a bit too much, or,
mm,
and those 20 years will fly very quickly. And I just want to experience as much as I can, whether that's flying to foreign countries. I've got a bucket list now, God help me, of places that I always said that I wanted to go, but it's now where I'm going to go
I love
because
that.
I can do it. I can get on that plane.
Mm,
It's not, you know, it is a huge, huge thing to do, but the rewards are just incredible. And like I said, so many people get on planes for so many different reasons, and I read the stories and I see, the stress and the fear and the real sort of terror that people go through. And I sort of think none of us really know. Some people say they're going on holiday, but we could have people on the group that are going to see their parents for the last time,
yeah.
or and all that added stress. But every single person in the group has been loving, kind, compassionate, non-judgmental,
Mm,
warm, nothing negative in the group whatsoever. And it feels like it's become quite a family
yeah.
group, really, which is absolute credit to you and your guys, really.
Well, thank you. And on behalf of everybody else that does all the. I mean, to be honest, when I first started I had no idea that it could be so great and supportive. And in fairness, by the time I get on half the time to answer these things, about 15 people have already done it. It's just like, because the people are helping each other, which is, I just love. So I try to get in there and like as many things as I can, and if people tag me, I'll try and answer it directly. But yeah, it's just amazing, isn't it? What people are doing for each other.
Yeah,
It's yeah, it's lovely to see, and I haven't got the words for it really. It's very humbling to think of all these people helping complete strangers in different
yeah.
countries they'll never meet. I just find it's jaw-droppingly good.
I have to say, I am incredibly proud of every single person, even if they got to the airport and they couldn't get on the plane, at least they gave it a go.
Yeah.
And I'm so proud of every single person that stands up and faces their fear and says, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I might be scared. I might be terrified. I mean, I must have gone to the toilet 11 times at the airport, if not more,
Mm,
until I just thought I was going to keel over because I had nothing left to give. I was so exhausted.
yes.
But somehow, I think human beings, there's that little bit of spirit that's so
Yeah.
deeply buried that gets ignited when we face our darkest, deepest fears.
Mm.
I think there's something inside that just that flame reignites.
There's so many sort of slam dunk moments in this podcast. I
Oh,
keep,
sorry.
no, it's lovely. It's just some brilliant thing. And the thing is, it's not like you're just saying things for the sake of it. Everything
No.
you're saying to me feels genuine,
Oh, it
and
is.
and just very warm and sincere. I don't know. It's just phenomenal. On the receiving end of this, it's just amazing, and I just know that people are going to love this podcast because it's
Oh,
just
thank
so
you.
inspiring. You're
Um,
inspiring, and you're running the
oh,
podcast
no,
from here
not
onwards.
really.
That's it. So it's Gina's podcast now. I just, yeah, just some brilliant, brilliant, brilliant messages there.
I just want to hug everyone and say, and somehow say to everyone, just take that moment when you step on that plane, take that moment and think what an amazing human being you are, and how strong and how courageous and how amazing and unique every single person that gets on that plane is, because they are doing something that is amazing, mind blowing, you know, and will change their lives because they get to see their loved ones, they get to have fun with their family away from the stresses of everyday rubbish. And that is just priceless. You cannot put a price on that. Those
No,
moments when you're old and you're looking back on your life, all of those, life is about making memories. And getting on that plane is just a tiny weeny minute part of that journey. such a tiny part of your holiday or your visit, or, you know, it's just a few hours out of your lifetime, your hundreds of thousands of hours that you have in your life. It's just a minute little time. Don't give it the gravity. Don't give it that. Don't let it have that strength to stop you from living and doing stuff, because it's too short and too precious. Go and hug your family. Have lots of fun memories. Go do it. Go live it. Go fly. Go fly. Have some fun. I can't wait. I'm like so up for round 2. I'll tell you, I'll be flying the bloody thing before long.
Well, there's never too late. You know, it's never too late to get your commercial license, or if you want to go and be cabin crew. You know, who knows? You know, a friend of mine, she started at. She's probably my age, 55. You know, she just joined as cabin crew, and just started BA. You know, anything's possible.
Yeah, that's very true. The only limitation is your brain.
That's it.
Is you. You're your limitation. You allow yourself to be limited, don't you?
Gina, I think we need to stop, because this has been amazing, and
thank
I'm
you.
So grateful. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Honestly,
your story's been amazing. It's been so inspiring, and it's just you know, I've had a little manly tear every now and then. You know, thankfully you can't see that, but I just it was just awesome.
Thank you. Like I said, thank you. When I sent that message to you the other day, I really am grateful for everything that Lovefly does, because it's not just about you and the admin team. It's about every single person that's on that group, every single person. And,
I agree.
You know, you've done amazing, fantastic job putting it together. And it's there's no other site like it, I don't think.
That's it. I'm going to have to lie down now. I'm going to take the rest of the evening off. Gena.
Go and have a beer.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, thank you. That's
all right. Thank you.
Yeah, you've been a brilliant guest, and there's just been some fantastic, lovely, inspiring bits in that, and I cannot wait to release this podcast for other people to enjoy it as well.
You. Well, I hope they're not bored, because I do waffle. But
no, not at all. No, it's been great.
Thank you.